Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our provincial election candidates debate. I'm delighted to see so many here for our discussion with those who are seeking to earn our votes. Before we begin, the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce acknowledges that our work and our member businesses' activities take place on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin people. Traditionally known as Anishinaabe, Algonquin people are the original inhabitants of the wide swath of territory along the Ottawa River. We respectfully thank the Algonquin people for hosting us on their ancestral lands. For anyone who has not become familiar with Zoom over the last 2 years of the pandemic, here's a few pointers for you. We ask that you mute your microphone, which you will find in the bottom left corner of your window. Next to it is the video. If you don't want to be seen, just hit that button. Zoom offers several reactions that we encourage you to employ, such as applauds and other emojis. We ask that you bring any questions that you have for the candidates to our 5 p.m. cocktail party meet and greet at the Clarion Hotel, Pembroke. We ask that we respect each other's time, that we enjoy an hour together learning about the candidates and their party platforms. Handling our technologies and providing information in our chat will be our board vice president, Jody Buchholz. Our timekeeper is Heather Sutherland, also from our board of directors. And I am your host, Kelly Holohan, the executive director of the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to the candidates for joining us today. In random order, we have Oliver Jacob, John Yakabuski, Kurt Stoll, Thomas O'Connor, Kade MacWilliams, and Anna Dolan. Now we're going to take a quick moment to memorialize our gathering with a family photo. So Jody, if you would please do the honors. If everyone would smile for the camera, we'll take a shot. Thank you, Jody. So now, first up for our introductions, we'll start with Oliver Jacob. Oliver?
Thank you very much, Kelly, and thank you to the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. For me, it's always a pleasure to speak with our business leaders from across the Valley, and in particular, the several communities that the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber includes. So I'll begin. My name is Oliver Jacob. I'm your Ontario Liberal Party candidate in the upcoming provincial election. A little bit about me. I was born and raised here in the Ottawa Valley, born in Almont and raised in Renfrew and Orentfire and McNabb-Braeside, and the communities that we call home. I did go away for university, but I chose to come back, and I chose to come back for the municipal election back in 2018, where I ran as a candidate in the township of McNabb-Braeside and was elected thanks to the support of 1,212 McNabb-Braeside residents to represent them on their municipal council for the last 3.5 years. I also chose to come back because I love our community. I've always been involved in our community, whether that dates all the way back to the start of high school and throughout all of my high school days when I worked with the Renfrew County District School Board and their Parent Involvement Committee, working on making sure that our parents had all of the support that they need to support their students on issues like affordability, financial literacy, mental health and addictions, making sure that they could support their parents or their kids as much as our teachers and our education system do. After that point, in the last couple of years in particular, I've worked with Renfrew Regional Health, United Way, and really worked in our communities, because for me, my priorities are housing, healthcare, and education as the things that matter most to our people here in Renfrew County. And I certainly look forward to the conversations today and with all of our candidates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver. And next up, we have John Yakabuski.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and thanks to everyone for joining us, in particular the other candidates who are seeking to represent the people of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke as well. I have been the representative for closing in on 2 decades of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, and I'm very proud of my own record and proud of the record of our government of the last 4 years. By way of introduction, I grew up on politics. My father, Paul, was an MPP for 24 years, from 1963 to 87. He served in municipal office, as I did as well, before entering provincial politics, but also ran a hardware store in Barry's Bay for 20 years as well. My political background, as you know, is something that I don't really, I guess it's not about an introduction, because while other people will be running on what they're promising to do, and I understand that, I'm running both on what I bring for the future, but what I've brought for the past nearly 2 decades. And our government of the past 4 years is running on 5 significant priorities: rebuilding Ontario's economy, working for workers, building infrastructure and key highway, rapid transit, hospitals, schools, that kind of infrastructure, and also helping with municipal infrastructure as well, keeping costs down, such as lowering the gas tax and putting money back into people's pockets by ending the charge for license plate stickers, and a plan to stay open. A plan to stay open here in Ontario, because after 2 years of very challenging times, which has certainly been challenging for the people, but also challenging for any government that has had to manage through it, we are bringing a plan to stay open, because that's what the people of Ontario want. And we're looking forward to facing the polls on June the 2nd. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And I'd also like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this debate. And over the next hour, we're going to talk about all of our visions for what this riding could be and what Ontario could be. And I'm really looking forward to this. Now, we want Ontario to be better. And I grew up on a grain farm in Saskatchewan, and I now work as a research scientist at the National Laboratory at Chalk River. And I'd like to tell you that I saw firsthand what an NDP government can do for working people and for small businesses. I witnessed in Saskatchewan how an NDP government can bring in essential infrastructure that we need in this riding and that rural Ontario generally needs. Attention for roads, attention for hospitals, small and hospitals, attention for infrastructure like the electricity system and telecommunications, internet. All of these things are extremely important. And because I grew up on a grain farm in Saskatchewan, I understand the needs of small businesses. And I understand their needs are not the same as large businesses. And I'm hoping to point out the differences between the NDP's vision for small businesses and the Conservatives' vision for large businesses. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you very much, everybody, for having me.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, next we have Thomas.
Hello, everyone. So thank you for having us today. I just want to say thank you for everybody that put this together. So my name is Thomas O'Connor. I'm a 35-year-old Christian man. I'm married to a wonderful wife. She's given me 3 beautiful children. They're ages 11, 10, and 7. I was born and raised here in Renfrew County, where I volunteered as a firefighter for 7 years. I worked for a manufacturing industry, creating DVDs and CDs while saving for college. I attended college for 3 years at Algonquin College, where I took health sciences. And through the summers, I worked for a construction company called Kade. Did my ride outs here in Renfrew County, in Eganville and Renfrew as a paramedic student. And then I graduated college in 2009. Accepted a full-time job as a paramedic where I worked for 13 years. Volunteered for many different organizations through that period of time, up until even now. I love to hunt, fish, and spend all kinds of time in the outdoors. The New Blue is a new Conservative Party that is right of center, has 124 candidates that are throughout the province. We have the ability to, if elected, to occupy all the seats in our current government and provide good, diverse care to the people of this community. We're made up of doctors, nurses, paramedics, farmers, all kinds of different careers. We know what life is like. We've lived a day in this province and in our ridings. We know our communities well. The New Blue has various different experiences because of our diversity and our candidates. And we just want to bring good people to government with the experience that they have to help fix some of the problems that we have in this community. So when I was door knocking, okay, sorry. Thanks for everybody.
Okay, we'll hear more about that soon, I'm sure. Okay, thank you very much. And then we have Kade.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kade MacWilliams, and I am your Ontario Party candidate in the upcoming election. I'd like to take this time to thank the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and thank my fellow candidates for coming along and having this discussion. The reason that I decided to run in the upcoming election was an observation that I made, which was a lack of accountability in politics. The Doug Ford government has been unaccountable to Ontarians. They have caused massive debts, $20 billion deficit being run this year alone, shut down your businesses, caused jobs to be lost, and are actively working with the Trudeau-Singh federal government to move forward those ideas. The Ontario Party will be a government that only works for the people of Ontario and the people of this province. I will be a representative for you and will only listen to your concerns, not the concerns of lobbyists in Toronto. The Ontario Party has a plan to fix problems that we see in our province, such as the collapsing healthcare system. We want to create a quality education for all Ontario schools and bring back high-paying jobs to Ontario. We will protect small businesses and ensure that the backbone of our economy is able to stay open and operate freely. The most important aspect, however, of the Ontario Party is the freedom for its sitting members to vote for their constituents rather than towing the party line. This means that I will only represent you in Queen's Park. Thank you very, very much, and I look forward to the rest of the debate.
Thank you. And Anna, please.
Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, for fellow candidates for being here, and to all of you for listening in to what we have to say. I have vacationed in the Renfrew County area my entire life, and 5 years ago decided to make the Barry's Bay area my home. I became very interested in the environment and concerned about what we're doing to our planet while studying architecture at Carleton, where we learned about the impact of the built environment on our planet. I'm running for the Green Party as I feel that this is the best thing that I can do to preserve our planet and the quality of life that we've all enjoyed for our children and our grandchildren. The Green Party believes in putting people and planet first. Putting people first means focusing on healthcare services, education, support for the elderly, programs to help people with disabilities or those unable to work. Healthcare must include pharmacare and dental care, as it does in most other countries in the world. Putting the planet first is the most important action that we can do right now to preserve our life for our future generations. The recent IPCC report has highlighted what can happen if we don't do anything about the climate, and we need to act on that now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, thank you all. So now we have some predetermined questions. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to this question. At 1 minute, we'll see our sign indicating that 30 seconds remain. At 90 seconds, the bell will ring and we will mute the microphone in order to move on, okay? So the first question. It is important to spread economic investments across the province to create prosperity in small urban centers, rural and First Nations communities. How will you ensure that rural Ontario receives its fair share to improve infrastructure? Which improvements would you prioritize and why? And we'll begin with John, please.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly. That's a great question. And infrastructure is a huge issue, not only in rural Ontario, but all across Ontario, but particularly here. If I look at the last 18 years and 19 years of my service, and particularly the last 4, the amount of infrastructure improvements being done here, highways, municipal roads, which are largely supported by provincial and federal funds, but approved by the province, you see significant improvements. Highways are very important. Roads are extremely important. Transportation is a key ingredient to economic development. And that's why when I was Minister of Transportation early in the mandate, I had the opportunity to give the approval for the next phase of expansion on Highway 17, 22.5 kilometers to west of Bruce Street in Renfrew, which is going to be a massively important. It'll connect 4 lanes to Highway 60, which makes a true connection throughout the riding. And I don't think we can overstate the importance of transportation infrastructure. I only got a few seconds left. I'd like to talk about others, but that is the single biggest capital project from a provincial level that has ever taken place in Renfrew County, and we're very proud to have seen that approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Kurt.
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, infrastructure is extremely important. As John just pointed out, roads are extremely important. But in this election, we're not talking about roads as much as we're talking about healthcare and education and keeping elderly people in their homes longer as they age. These 3 areas also require infrastructure investment. The healthcare system has been degraded even before COVID came along and requires physical upgrades as well as hiring more healthcare workers to staff those hospitals. Our schools require physical upgrades. There is a huge backlog of repairs that are required, and rural schools are the most short on funding because of the horrible funding model, which pays per student, per head. And finally, keeping people in their homes longer so that they do not leave the houses they own, and so that they can get longer term care in their houses. We want to invest in people's homes so that they can install handrails, install lifts, and have the funding they need to get care at home. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And Thomas, please.
So as Kurt had mentioned, our roads, and as well as Mr. Yakabuski, our roads are terrible. I, for one, know that as a paramedic. I was tired of bouncing our patients up and down the road while they're injured. So absolutely, roads are a critical aspect of our society, especially in rural Ontario. But hospitals are full. We have nowhere to put patients. Wait times are through the roof. We need better infrastructure there. Our schools are full, as he also mentioned. Our teachers are having children 30, 40 in a classroom. We can't be putting them in portables where they're not capable of learning properly in poor environments, fluctuations in temperatures. Our retirement homes and nursing homes are extremely full. There's wait times for all those things. And we just need better infrastructure in just a vast area of both urban and rural Ontario. But for most of us, one of the infrastructures that also goes unnoticed is some of our hydro and internet via fiber and cable. So we need to address those issues. It's a big issue all the way around. It's not a simple question. It's not an easy fix, but infrastructure period all the way around, especially around our healthcare. We need to be able to do that. We need to be able to have people have the right things at the right time and the room for them to be in it.
Okay, thank you. And now Kade.
Thank you for the question. Infrastructure in the province is no doubt crumbling. We see roads that are in a state of disrepair. We've been promised 4 lanes coming through Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke for a very long time now. It hasn't been put through yet. We need to actually get this put through. We need better cell phone service, better internet connectivity. I'm doing a university online, and I have to go up to my dad's office to do my university studies because I do not have access to high-speed internet at home. We need to improve our healthcare system. Wait times are through the roof in our healthcare. We need to reinvest in our infrastructure in Ontario. I think, like I said, getting 4 lanes will be extremely important to bring business back into Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. We no longer have rail lines or anything like that. So if everything's moving by truck, we will need to bring 4 lanes in. We'll also need to improve the healthcare infrastructure. This means hiring more physicians, making medical school easier to get into, and overall improving healthcare and making it more affordable and more streamlined at home. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Anna.
The Green Party was the only party to launch its this campaign in the North. We are focused on the special challenges that face both rural and northern ridings. We also recognize that the economy is based on the environment, especially in ridings such as ours. People come here for the lakes and the forest. We have a large forestry business, and we also have a lot of farmers and agricultural land. The Green Party is focused on preserving all this land. This is for our benefit and for our future benefits. We can't pave over all this good land and hope that we will have an economy in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Oliver, please.
Thank you, Kelly. And certainly rural Ontario is an important and unique area of our province. We produce so much of the skills and the people and the products that really drive our provincial economy and support the cities in terms of agriculture and in terms of the products that they need to live. We as Ontario Liberals are committed to investing in rural Ontario. We know that past governments of both political or all 3 political stripes have failed rural Ontario. And we know that there's an opportunity now coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic to change things. So we as Ontario Liberals will invest. We will take the $10 billion that the Conservatives are obsessed with spending on a useless highway in the Greater Toronto area, Highway 413, which will save drivers less than a minute of travel time and destroy over 2,000 acres of farmland and marshes. We'll invest that into building 200 new schools across the province, repairing and expanding over 4,500 schools across the province, and supporting projects like we have in Renfrew County, like Highway 417 twinning, which was prepared under the Liberal government, and Mr. Yakabuski just got to announce at the last stage, like the Grove Nursing Home in Arnprior, which was also approved by the former Liberal government, like the expansion at St. Joseph's High School in Renfrew that was also approved by the former Liberal government and is finally taking place now. We as Ontario Liberals will build, and we're ready to work with rural Ontario on the
Okay, so that was our first question. We're on to question number 2. The 2022 Ontario Chamber of Commerce Economic Report found that over 60% of businesses in our province are experiencing talent and labor shortages, and they expect to continue to face them over the next year. How do you plan to address these long-standing shortages that have been worsened by the pandemic? And what are your plans to support the workforce of the future? We'll begin with Kurt, please.
Thank you for the question. So it is extremely important that we get education right in this election. The education system is systematically being privatized by Doug Ford and his government. They are purposely underfunding education. They are purposely underfunding primary schools, underfunding secondary schools, underfunding colleges, and underfunding universities. They are freezing the staff salaries of educators in all of these institutions. And it is important that we allow these educators to do their job so that they can produce the highly qualified people that we require. We are looking to make OSAP loans grants. We are looking to retroactively cancel interest on OSAP loans, and we're looking to create paid internships and co-op positions so that trained students can work their way into the workforce in a way that transfers knowledge from the aging workforce to these young workers. This is absolutely essential for every business. Thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you. And Thomas is next.
So throughout the years, our governments have made all kinds of promises to help create jobs, create education. And we just heard that both the PC and the Liberal governments have made these promises, and 4 to 8 years later, they're getting around to it. And so one of the biggest issues in the last two to 4 years is all these lockdowns. Some of these businesses haven't been able to be open to even hire people. So of course they're having shortages. They get them in, they just get them trained, and then we get into another lockdown. And so what the new Blue Party wants to do, and myself included, is we want to make sure that everybody's open long enough, including the school systems, so that teachers can be at school to teach these kids, have them have a proper education so that they can get into these colleges and learn. Obviously, there's all kinds of different programs like OSAP and things that we can look at. But really, in the end, if the kids can't get to school, can't learn, these people aren't going to be able to hire them, train them, and get them in there. So there's all kinds of shortages, not even just to the worker trade, but there's material shortages as well. So this is a huge issue, obviously, for a lot of businesses and a lot of people. We just need to make sure that we get rid of some of these lockdown policies, make sure some of these facilities are actually built on time so that these children and young adults can actually enter into them and utilize them with the right professionals in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Kade, please.
It's no question that there is a lack of workforce in Ontario. We are having trouble getting people trained and creating professional jobs or filling professional jobs in Ontario. My family runs many small businesses throughout the Petawawa-Pembroke community. And for many years now, we have been struggling to find people who are trained and qualified to work in these jobs. So the Ontario Party would like to promote learning a skilled trade. I think tradesmen are the backbone of our economy. We would like to open up more opportunities to learn skilled trades, learn them closer to home, create programs at Algonquin College in Pembroke that help students learn skilled trades. We'd also like to streamline OSAP funding so that the most in-demand jobs are the ones that require or that receive the most funding. So the programs that are most in demand, that's where we'd like our students to go. We would also like to end lockdowns in Ontario. Shutting down businesses is detrimental. As Thomas has mentioned, my family has struggled with getting people trained and having them hold on to jobs because 2 months later, we're into another lockdown and we have to shut the businesses down again. This kills business and it kills opportunity in Ontario. So the Ontario Party will stand against that and will stand for creating high-paying jobs in Ontario again. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anna, please.
As all the candidates mentioned, we have a labor shortage and a supply shortage, not just in our riding, but throughout the province and the country. We do have a lot of immigrants coming to Canada, but those immigrants tend to move to the cities. What we need to do is to attract people and the new young people and immigrants to our riding. We can do that through making sure that we have all the services that every people in the city do, that the people in the city have. We need to have equal access to healthcare in the riding. We need to have strong education. We may need to ensure that certainly in the schools that we are training people for the jobs that we have here. And we can also do that by promoting in our riding the many benefits, like the lakes, the rivers, the forests. It's a beautiful riding, and I think we can attract people here if we make that a priority for the coming term. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver, next, please.
Certainly when we think of rural communities, particularly here in Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, we're experiencing an aging workforce demographic. And we've been seeing this coming for a long time, which is why we need investments in education to provide the skills that our youth need to be successful. Whether that's providing more shop classes, whether it's expanding the youth apprenticeship or the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, with the fantastic staff and work that they've been doing, particularly in our English Public School Board, RCDSB, over the last few years, making sure that our students get the opportunities to learn about the trades and to learn if it's for them. Because the reality is we're going to be missing a very large portion of skilled trade workers, up to potentially a million over the next 20 years, where we simply won't have the individuals to fill positions. We as Liberals are committed to working with the federal government to introduce a form of immigration similar to Quebec's model, where we have the ability to say which categories of immigrants we want to welcome to Ontario and to include the categories that would most help rural Ontario, whether that is healthcare workers, nurses, RPNs, PSWs, or whether that's in the skilled trades with industrial millwrights, manufacturing employees, and people to keep our factories going. We will also cover the tuition for ECEs and PSWs province-wide to make sure that we give our most vulnerable the support that they need.
Thank you. And John, please.
Thank you very much. And everyone agrees there's a shortage of skilled workers and workers in general. And one of the things that we heard from contractors in the skilled trades was the absolute albatross around the neck of the industry and prospective apprentices was this College of Trades, which was a Liberal invention to satisfy their friends. And one of the first things we did in office was get rid of the College of Trades. And now what we've done to couple with that is absolutely tremendous expansion in the supports for people trying to get into the skilled trades, because we see this as a tremendous shortage where the retirement age, or so many are at the near retirement age, they weren't with the skilled trade, with the College of Trades, they weren't letting enough in to fill that gap that was going to be created. So we've addressed that, but it's going to take it takes some time. So free tuition for these people coming into the trades. One of the things we did locally, which you understand, when I was Minister of Natural Resources, I brought in Ontario's first ever forest sector strategy. But in order to make that work, we need the skilled workers. So we also provided Algonquin College here in Pembroke with $5 million to help train the skilled workers that would be needed in today's forest industry and the mills of the future. So we've seen the problem, we've addressed the problem, and we're working to solve it. There's so many more things we could talk about, but that sign came up about 30 seconds ago. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Let's talk aspirations. What are some of the opportunities that you see for the Upper Ottawa Valley's socioeconomic growth and prosperity? Describe your vision of our region's marketplace of the future for the next generation of business leaders. And for this, we're going to begin with Thomas, please.
So I think that it's super important to have obviously the education and the infrastructure we've already spoken about in place so that people can actually be in these places to operate, right? So I'd like to see tourism come back so that we can increase just our local economics that bring people to our businesses here. And obviously, in order for that to happen, we need to get rid of carbon taxes. We need to be able to allow for people to move freely at a low cost, right? And through that, we also got to make sure that we're not locked down. So we need to have proper pandemic responses. We need to make sure that people are healthy and have the right treatment. And we just need to know that everyone has the education that they need to be able to afford all these things, because we want jobs. And so in order for us to be able to grow as a community, I would love to see better expansion on outdoor recreational areas and beaches and just tourism aspects as well that can help support these local businesses. And then we as New Blue want to get rid of a lot of this red tape the regulatory burdens that are around small businesses, medium-sized businesses. So these mom and pop shops can continue to thrive and hand over to their young people and not see them killed by lockdowns.
Okay, thank you. Kade, please.
I think the most important thing that we need to do is bring business back to Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. If you take a drive around Pembroke, Renfrew, any of these towns, you'll see that it's just a shell of its former self. We have manufacturing buildings that are left abandoned, and our economy is not where it used to be. So we need to bring back manufacturing. We need to reinvest in our forestry industry. We need to bring the cost of doing business in rural Ontario down. Energy costs are astronomical right now. That is affecting a lot of small businesses. They cannot afford to put fuel in their trucks and keep their lights on because energy costs are up. We need to get the cost of insurance down. For many small businesses, insurance rates in the last 4 years have doubled. It's becoming impossible to do business in Ontario unless you're a big corporation. We also need to cut the red tape and regulations surrounding small business. The red tape and regulations are causing stagnation in our economy. And if we get rid of them and let the free market do its job, we will see growth here at Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna, please.
As I mentioned several times, the environment really is the economy, and certainly the beautiful environment we have here in Renfrew County, in Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, is essential to the businesses that we have and the businesses that we can grow. Tourism was mentioned as one of our main businesses. We need to maintain our beautiful lakes and forests if we want to keep attracting tourists. At the same time, the pandemic has shown many people that they don't need to live in the big cities. They can move up here, work remotely. High-speed internet is available through many parts of the riding. I think that has to improve, but it is moving forward quickly. So we need to attract and make sure that we have the resources for people to move up here and be here year-round. And in the same way that we plan for the future in supporting the environment for the future, we strongly support a healthcare plan where we are looking at preventative healthcare and planning ahead for the future, not having just a reactive plan. Fuel costs are mentioned. The Green Party has a plan to help people move to electric vehicles. That's the best way to beat fuel prices. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oliver, please.
Well, honestly, when we look of the future that we want to see in Renfrew County, we want to see a community where everyone is supported, where we have the infrastructure that we need to get our resources and products to market, and where we bring back the manufacturing, like has been said by some of the other candidates. We have been seeing growth in those areas. Over the last few years, we've seen our downtown cores revitalized from Arnprior, Renfrew, even in Pembroke. The vacancy rate is very low. We've actually seen businesses that have thrived through COVID. And through my time at the Labour Market Group, through almost the entirety of the COVID-19 pandemic, the conversations that I had with businesses were about providing supports for their employees, making sure that their employees stay within the community and are able to work as effectively as they can by having the supports they need behind the scenes, whether that's guaranteeing 10 paid sick days that the provincial government will provide $200 a day to support, whether it's maintaining a strong and building our mental health and addictions framework, as Liberals will invest $3 billion over 4 years, reverse the cuts that the Ford government made before the pandemic, and work with our community partners like Phoenix Centre and the Robbie Dean Centre to make those investments that we need, both in the services side, but also in making sure that technology is available for the people that need it.
Okay. And John, please.
Thank you very much. So we can talk about infrastructure again because it's hugely important. highways, bringing people here, making it easier to get around. But also the tourism business was mentioned. One of our sons left a job in the public sector. He and his wife, they opened an ecotourism business, doing very well, because we do have so much to offer here, but we got to have that infrastructure to bring them here, but also high-speed internet and cell phone service. We've got a $300 million partnership with Rogers and the federal government to close the cell phone gap here through EORN, Eastern Ontario Regional Network, here in Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke in rural Eastern Ontario. We've also are investing a record $4 billion to ensure that every home in rural Ontario has internet service, high-speed internet, by 2025. That is going to be a game changer for being able to bring people and establish businesses and be able to operate competitively here in Renfrew County. The other thing you need is the services. So I've been part of having the approvals for 5 long-term care homes in this riding, either redeveloped or built new in my time here in the last 4 years. So those are significant improvements. Hospitals with expansion, for example, Pembroke Regional Hospital, almost $15 million to expand their surgical unit. These are key things if you're going to attract people and businesses. You've got to have the infrastructure and you've got to have the services.
Okay, and thank you. Kurt.
Thank you very much for this question. This is really an exciting question because there's really so many opportunities. And as the question asked, what's the big picture? What opportunities do we have? Let's look at our assets. We are a commutable distance to the nation's capital. We aren't in far north Ontario. We're the gateway to Algonquin Park. We host the Trans-Canada Highway. We host the largest military base in Canada, and the James Bay is straight north of us at a time when Arctic security is a real issue. We host a lot of natural resource development projects. Forestry is the largest one. And of course, we host Canada's largest and only national laboratory. And science is absolutely essential to Canada's future and to Ontario's future and to Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke's future. We need scientists. We need highly trained people. We need a knowledge-based economy to transform Canada's, Ontario's, and Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke's economy from processing raw materials to adding value to every unit of raw materials that Canada, Ontario, or Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke creates. We have a huge opportunity, and we're extremely lucky to have these assets. Things like a research reactor at Chalk River that produces medical isotopes, which we no longer have. We need to get.
Oh, thank you, Kurt. Okay, so we'll try to squeeze one more question in then before we say our goodbyes. If there's one lesson from the era of COVID-19 that our business community has learned, it's that we are all stronger together. Which strategic partnerships are a priority for you and your party in order to accomplish your goals? And how will you establish or foster these relationships? Sorry, we'll begin with Kade, please.
Strategic partnerships are extremely important with the provincial government. We need a provincial government that protects small business, doesn't shut down small businesses, and allows small business to operate freely and fairly in Ontario. Over the last 2 years, we have seen small business attacked, shut down, and it's been difficult for a lot of small business people to be able to provide for their employees and their families. I'm well aware of this as my family runs multiple small businesses, as I've mentioned, and we not only have to look out for ourselves, but we have employees that rely on us being open and us, turning a profit to ensure that they get a salary. So the provincial government needs to work to ensure that small businesses stay open and can continue to operate. We also need to ensure that insurance rates come down and fuel costs. These are going to be strategic partnerships and strategic things that the provincial government can do to ensure that small business can operate freely and fairly here in Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna, please.
The most important strategic partnerships are the residents of our riding. The Green Party is committed to working with the residents. We also have a policy where the MPPs are here, go to Queen's Park to vote and act for the riding, not just by the party, bottom up rather than top down. We need to work with the residents to understand what they need. We need to work with our farmers to preserve agricultural land so they can continue farming. We need to work with the forestry industry to make sure that our forests are viable as for industry, not just for now, but for the future. We need to work with the tourist industry to make sure, again, that we preserve the beauty that we have. So we continue to have tourists come here, come to Algonquin Park. We also have a large military base in the riding, and we need to, which generates a lot of jobs, and we need to work with them to ensure that those jobs stay there. Thank you.
Thank you. Oliver, please.
Strategic partnerships are something that I care very much about, and I believe really the role of the member of provincial parliament is to listen, whether that's listening to residents on the street and while you're at the grocery store, whether it's going to community events, or whether it's talking with the business leaders in our community, our municipal leaders, our community services professionals, the frontline staff that are providing services to Ontarians every single day. In addition, industry associations, unions, healthcare groups, and other organizations that work on behalf of their members with the provincial government. We need to listen to them, and we in particular need to listen to their members. Leadership doesn't always represent all of the opinions and perspectives of the membership of each organization. We've seen that in a number of union announcements in the last few days, where we certainly have lots of members that support all political parties, even though their leadership may be supporting only one. In addition, we really want to make sure that we have those conversations. We have an open door policy. As a member of provincial parliament, I see that as so important. Coming to every region of the riding on a consistent basis, making sure that we're providing that voice for all of our residents, whether in De Rivière, down to Barry's Bay, down to Ironfire, and up to Whitewater region. We all have perspectives, we all have issues, and we need a member of provincial parliament that will listen.
Thank you. John, please.
Thank you very much. Partnerships. I mean, that's what this business is. For goodness sake, this is what it's all about. If you're not engaging in those partnerships, you're missing out on the vital information that you need, because one person can only learn and absorb so much if that person is not engaging in a very meaningful way with stakeholders. As I say, in my almost 20 years, I couldn't even count the number of stakeholders meetings that I've had, and I continuously have engaged with business stakeholders, industry stakeholders, municipal stakeholders. As you know, we have 17 municipalities in the county of Renfrew, then the city of Pembroke, and in the district of Nipissing, the municipality of South Algonquin. So these things are ongoing relationship building processes that help you and allow you to understand better the people that you work for. And then outside of that, it's every single event that goes on in your riding where you're rubbing shoulders with families and children and grandparents. Those are the kinds of interactions and relationships that takes years to build, decades. I have that experience, and it is extremely helpful to me when I go down to Queen's Park to know and understand the people of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, like I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt, please.
Thank you very much for the question. Okay, so let's talk about partnerships. So first of all, in our industry, in our riding, we have a large agricultural industry. And beef producers specifically have no significant slaughtering capacity in this riding. The slaughtering industry has been monopolized and cornered by large industries. We need to work with the ag industry, the producers in this riding, to find out how we can break the monopoly on agricultural products, whether that's beef producers or grain producers, or even the small businesses that sell their products at farmers markets. We have to speak with these people. The forestry industry, the practice of exporting raw lumber or raw logs is not acceptable. We need to work with the forestry industry to find out how to add value to the natural resources we produce in this riding. Ontario has over 20 universities. We need to make research ties between our national lab at Chalk River and these 20 universities to add value to our natural resources and to foster the knowledge-based economy that is coming, that we're in it already, and that we need to do better to accommodate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Thomas, please.
Thank you. So, as it's already been said, really, we need to partner with the people. The people are the ones that elect us. The people are who we should be listening to. So we just need to start there. So first of all, we really need to get rid of some of these lockdown bills so that we can actually get out and chat with the community and understand where they're at, what's going on. We need to have that proper pandemic plan in place so that we can prevent people from getting sick by allowing them to have the right prophylactic treatments and treatments in hospitals so that people are able to actually get out, communicate, and we can know where they are at. And, you know, one of the things that I noticed through the pandemic is that we didn't treat all businesses the same. Big companies should never receive any preferred treatment. Small businesses during the lockdowns, they didn't really receive that same preferred treatment in the early stages. So we need to know that all businesses, if it's safe for one, it's safe for all. We need to partner with some of our universities and research labs that are around our province. We have great universities. We need to listen to these experts. We need to listen to non-biased medical research facilities that don't have a financial gain in a lot of different areas. So in the end, we just need to hear what the people have to say, return their phone calls, get into the community and understand them. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So that takes us to the closing statements. For this, the candidates will have 90 seconds each, as we had for the questions. Anna, we'll begin with you, please.
6 out of 10 Ontarians that watched Monday's leaders debate felt that Mike Schreiner won the debate. This is because, like me, most voters agree with what the Green Party is offering. More and more voters are realizing that climate change is the biggest crisis facing us today. Ignoring the problem will not make it go away. There's only one party with a plan and a resolve to address the climate crisis. As I've mentioned, in Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, climate action is job action. Our jobs are dependent on the environment. People come here to enjoy the fresh lakes and the forests. This generates a tourist industry. We have a large agricultural industry. Preserving the farmland is, right now it's of particular importance. The war in Ukraine has caused food prices to rise throughout the world. It has highlighted the need for us to preserve that land for future, to keep food prices down. The provincial election is only 2 weeks away. Advanced polling opened today, yet only 3 of the parties that are speaking here today have a platform and costing on their website. I urge all of you to go to the websites and look for that information. We are fortunate to be living in a beautiful part of the world. Let's work together to keep it that way for us and for our future generation. This election, cast your vote for your children, your grandchildren, and your planet. Vote green. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Oliver now, please.
Certainly throughout this debate, we've had some important conversations about various issues that impact the business community. We as Ontario Liberals know, having spent the last 4 years listening to the people of Ontario and engaging on the issues that matter most to them. Indeed, our platform is a compilation of the ideas and the suggestions that were submitted from tens of thousands of Ontarians and voted by those same Ontarians. It was an opportunity for us to listen and to really address the key issues that are important. When we take a look specifically at small businesses, we as Liberals will eliminate corporate taxes for 2 years for small businesses, increase loans and programs investing in digital literacy, while the Conservatives only seem to care about helping their buddies with the new Highway 413, paving over thousands of acres of farmland and marshes just to save drivers less than a minute of time. We are committed to serving you and your residents, to spending that $10 billion on much needed investments in education and working on your behalf to address the issues that matter most to you. As a community champion who's worked at the municipal level and in many community organizations, both in healthcare and in education, I am here to serve you, and I know that we can all do better together to build a stronger, healthier, and more prosperous Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke for all of us. So on June 2nd, I ask for your support and to cast your vote for Oliver Jacob for Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. And John, please.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks to everyone for joining us, and thanks to the Chamber for putting it on, not putting us on. $7 billion. Everyone can talk about what they want to do, what they plan to do. This is what we've actually done in savings for business. $7 billion annually, lowering WSIB premiums by 47% with no reduction of benefits, accelerated capital cost allowance for business so that then they can write off new equipment within 1 year, red tape and burden reductions totaling $330 million, reducing the business education tax so that it's province-wide at 0.88%. These are just some of the things that we've done as a government to make it easier to stay in business here in the province of Ontario, because the previous government was not friendly to business. But on a local basis, when I first ran for the nomination back in 2002 into 2003, my slogan was, it's just not a slogan, it's my belief. It's all about people. I've spent almost the next 2 decades showing that and proving that. This is about people. Whatever we do, everything that we do has an impact on the people we serve. I believe in that. I've lived it, and I continue to commit to it. So I hope that on June 2nd that I will be returned as your member of, phone going here, as a member of provincial parliament for Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kurt, please.
Thank you very much for hosting this debate. And the questions that came up today really remind me of the challenges that both individuals and small businesses are facing. People are worried about the cost of living. People are worried about the cost of energy, about the cost of gas, and they're worried about Doug Ford's cuts to education and Doug Ford's cuts to our small community healthcare system. Young people are worried that they're never going to be able to afford homes or find a good job with benefits. They know that Doug Ford only cares about taking care of big business, and they don't know that Doug Ford doesn't have the skills to build the future we want, to build the knowledgeable, high-tech jobs that we all need. However, our riding has so much potential. We host the largest military base in Canada. We're a commutable distance to the nation's capital. And of course, we host the nation's only national laboratory. We want to turn Ontario and this riding into Canadian leaders. We want to add value to our natural resources, and we need to do that with the most skilled people in the country, our scientists, our technologists, our tradespeople. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thomas, please.
So I just want to take a moment, thank everyone involved for getting this event ready and organized. I just want to remind everyone that as a paramedic, most of you have trusted me with your life in the past, whether directly or indirectly. You have had faith that I would make the right decision for you at the right moments in some of your most severe moments in life, and some of them being good ones as well. I swore to take care of you, to protect you, and to do what was right in those sometimes awful moments. It's going to take a trained professional like myself to walk in and get control of the chaos that our government has created for the last 30, 40, 50 years. This is our livelihoods on the line. We need change. Someone who isn't afraid of hard work. The New Blue and myself want to do that hard work for you. We want to lower the burdens of your businesses and even just daily lives. We want to lower your taxes, get rid of the carbon tax, restore your healthcare, deal with the housing market crisis with high inflation. The list is extremely, extremely long. And most importantly, we just want to bring a true, transparent, hardworking government that knows what it's like to live life. We're people just like you. Like I mentioned before, we're moms, dads, doctors, nurses. We're from the trades, business owners. We understand what it's like. And we just want to bring a true good government with good people who understand what it's like. So if you want to support me and the New Blue, we will stand up for you. Vote New Blue on June 2nd, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kade.
I'd like to firstly thank the Chamber of Commerce for having us and thank everybody for attending the event. In closing, I'd like to say that it is my goal to bring accountability back to Queen's Park. I want to be a representative who doesn't just promise the world, but actually follows through on the promises and be a strong voice for this riding. I would like to be a voice for everyone in this riding, regardless of religion, creed, or political orientations. As I've said before, the Ontario Party has plans to improve our healthcare system, improve our education curriculum, and create jobs in Ontario. We will protect the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and ensure that individuality is not lost in Ontario. Most importantly, I will work for the people of this riding and be sure that all voices are heard equally. I would be honored if you guys would put your trust in me and vote for me on June 2nd. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Well, we've gone a little over our hour, but I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope this was enjoyable for you as it was for me. Please remember that we're also hosting a meet and greet cocktail party at the Clarion Hotel Pembroke this evening at 5 o'clock. It's in both the dining room and on the outside patio for those who prefer not to congregate indoors right now. The Chamber of Commerce is very much looking forward to working closely with our member of provincial parliament as partners in the prosperity and development of our Upper Ottawa Valley community. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a great afternoon. Bye now.